Amen. And Jimmy. Young people and Jimmy. Amen. Amen. From the passages that we read earlier, we want to use this thought today, a detour to destiny. A detour to destiny. Let us pray. God, we thank you so much for what our eyes have seen, our ears have heard, and our hearts and souls have even felt. And as we've come now to this moment to share your word and to hear your word, God, we ask that you would speak to us, that you would arrest our attention, that you speak to us, God, so that we would know that we've heard from you today. Meet each of us right where we are on our journey with you, and help bring us to the place that it is that you desire for us to be. God, we thank you for all that you are doing in our lives, the things that you have done. If it had not been for you, none of us would even be here this morning. So God, thank you for loving us, beyond our faults and our failures, for loving us so much that you have given us yet another opportunity at this thing called life. God, we ask that you, as we sit and hear from you, that you would encourage us, that you challenge us where we need to be challenged, stretch us so that we could fulfill the destiny that you have for us. It's in Jesus' name that we ask this prayer. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. A detour to destiny. A detour to destiny. I would say for me, one of the most frustrating experiences living in this Washington metropolitan area, probably my most frustrating experience is driving around here. Driving, especially during rush hour. Around here, it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I'm one of those people who I'm not at the stage of road rage yet, but it stresses me, the amount of traffic and the congestion that one experiences when driving around here. Yesterday, Pam and I were heading into the district just to make a quick stop in the district, and we hit 50, jump on 50, and then we're going to hit 295, and we come around the bend to 295, somewhere around about Kenilworth Avenue, and we rolling, and then everything stopped. And it's like, hold up, it's Saturday. It's, I don't know, must have been about 6 o'clock or something, Saturday afternoon, evening. And it's just like every lane is just creeping, barely moving. And I'm not the most patient driver. I'm not the most patient. I'm learning how to be patient in driving. But for the life of me, I just couldn't understand, like, why is there bumper-to-bumper traffic at 6 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon? So then Pam says, well, is there a Nats game or something today? No Nats game. Well, maybe there's an accident up ahead. And as we sat there and just kind of crept along forever, we finally get past like the Pennsylvania Avenue exit, and there's nothing. Just like nothing. I mean like literally nothing. Just cars, just drive. And it's so frustrating. Traffic is something that really is a frustrating thing for me, and I've got to get better with it, because what I've realized is that fussing at the car in front of you, that doesn't even help. It's not like they can hear you. You know, it's not like they may realize the error of their ways and they move over or something. So I'm learning that I just have to kind of deal with it and get better with dealing with it. However, what is even more annoying is when there's road work being done, and that is piled on top of traffic. When they're working on the roads and the Department of Transportation has decided to set up what is called detours, that just rubs me even more the wrong way. Because see, I was headed in a direction that I'm familiar with. And when you throw up a detour, that generally means that I have to travel in a direction that wasn't my intended direction. So then what happens is that the detour will very often take you out of your way. And if I wanted to go that way, initially I would have gone that way. But I chose a certain route because that was the route that I wanted to travel, but somehow or another, because they were working on the roads, they set up detours to help people navigate their way. And what frustrates me with detours is that generally detours bring me in unfamiliar territory.
All right, that's right.
Generally, when someone sets up, when a detour is set up, then your initial traveling arrangements have been interrupted. And you have to take an alternate route because there's some work being done in your initial route, and therefore you may have to travel in some unfamiliar roads. You may have to go down some unfamiliar streets. You may have to go down a road or a street or a highway that is not so familiar, or it may not even be the shortest distance to where you're trying to go. So detours irritate me because I can end up in unfamiliar territory, and sometimes, very often, it takes me a longer travel time to get to where I wanted to go, my destination, because I end up having to take a detour. Well, don't you know that that's just the way it is in life? Don't you know in life, you and I will experience detours.
Yes.
There will be, we will set out on a journey one way. And end up, for some reason or another, having to take a detour or an alternate route to where we were heading because of some sort of life experience that creeps up or comes up. Some sort of experience in life that says that, yes, I know you were headed this way. And so you had it all figured out on how to get there. You knew how many classes to take. You knew what professors to sign up for. You had it all figured out, but all of a sudden, a detour happens. A detour is set up, and you end up having to take an alternate route, and sometimes end up in some unfamiliar territory. Detours not only on the road, but detours in life have a way of causing us frustration. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I kind of figure out how I want my life to go. All right, yeah. This is the way I want it to go. I want it to go like this. I want to travel this way and do this and do that. And I want this job, and I want it at that time. And I want this at this age. And I want to be able to have accumulated this at this time. But life is not always like that.
That's right.
Life is not always so nice and neatly planned out that everything you plan comes to pass. Sometimes there are detours that you and I have to take in life in order for us to reach our destination. Sometimes it's not going to be that easy. Sometimes it's not going to be that simple. Sometimes we're going to have to take detours, but detours do not necessarily mean that we won't reach our destiny. See, for instance, most, if not all of us, if we were to poll this entire audience, most, if not all of us, want to go to heaven.
That's right.
Most, if not all of us, want to end up spending eternity with God.
That's
Once
right.
this thing on planet Earth is over, most of us would say, look, my destination is to spend eternity with God.
Yeah. Yes.
All of us don't have the same journey to get there. Some of us are going to have to go through disease in order to get there.
Yeah.
Some of us are going to have to take the detour of divorce in order to get there.
Yeah.
Some of us are going to have to take the detour of hardships and heartaches and have our hearts broken in order for us to draw close enough to God so that we end up in our destination.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because detours are just a part of life.
Yeah.
And how then do we live this life with our destiny in mind? And when we have to experience a detour, how do we not get frustrated and still know how to function in the midst of a detour? Paul and the men that are on this ship have to deal with, they were on their way from Adramyttium to Rome. And what they were going to do was they were going to sail along the western shore of Asia so that they could get to Rome. Paul, it has always been a dream of his life to go to Rome and to witness to the people in Rome about God. It was something that Paul, it was part of his whole life dream. It was part of his whole vision for life. That one day he was going to make it to Rome, make it to Italy or Rome. He was going to make it there and be able to share the gospel and preach the gospel. That was something that was near and dear to his heart. He had been in different cities and villages and regions of the world sharing the gospel, but it was extremely important, part of his life vision, to go to Rome. And Paul now is fulfilling part of that destiny on his way to Rome. But he never thought it would be as a prisoner. See, you and I, we kind of try to set up our lives.
Yes, we do.
We try to set things in place the way we want them to be. How we want it to look, get married, have 2.5 kids, have a little white picket fence, a couple dogs, some fish, maybe a parrot or something like that. And we kind of set up this thing, and this is how we want it to be. We want all our kids to grow up, be responsible citizens and stuff, and want them to, either go to college or have this great career and to just really do it and to make it. But then life happens. And it doesn't all pan out and look the way we saw it in our minds. Yeah. It amazes me that in order for me to have experience being happily married, I had to go through divorce.
Yeah.
That wasn't a part of the equation. But see how life is, that there are times where detours happen in our lives to help us reach our destinations. And just because we're experiencing or are on a detour does not mean that the destination now is out of place. They are setting sail on a ship headed to Rome, but Paul is a prisoner on the ship. He and 270 plus others are prisoners of the Roman government, the Roman army, and they are headed to Rome. It doesn't look the way Paul wants it to look, but the destiny is still a part of his journey.
Yes.
So here they are on this ship, and the initial ship that they get on is just a coastal ship. A coastal ship is a nice little ship that you're taking a little journey. It's not going to take you a long time. You just go ahead, set sail, get on that billy and keep on sailing, because it's not going to really be that much difficulty that you'll experience. And this is all up in the upper verses of this chapter. They get on this coastal ship and immediately run into a storm. The storm sends them in a different direction than they were initially going to travel. The Roman officers understand something, that, listen, with the weather conditions we're facing, we need to pull ashore and get another ship. So they end up getting a wheat grain ship, which is a much larger ship because it's transporting grain now. So then, after pulling in and switching ships, they start on their journey again. Guess what? Just like life. Another storm arises, and Paul had told them, look, I don't think it's wise for us to sail right now because of the weather. All right. But they didn't listen. And you know, this is a beautiful story here in chapter 27 about life. Because they weren't really willing to listen to Paul, because he was trying to warn them and let them know that, look, it's just really not a safe time for us to travel. But anyway, they didn't want to listen. So they set sail, and in the midst of setting sail again, they run into another vicious storm that again takes them on another detour. So here they are in the midst of traveling, and they've had to take down some sails, they've had to make some adjustments, because here they are now, they find themselves just at the mercy of whichever way the wind blows. I don't know if you ever found yourself there, where there was somebody wise in your life trying to tell you what you need to do. And because you didn't want to listen to them, because they don't know what they talking about, they try to tell you that Negro wasn't no good. Right? They told you, his mama told you, his last wife told you. So here, they're now at the mercy of whichever way clothes because they didn't want to listen. It's a beautiful story, man. It's a beautiful story about life and how God places people in your lives, in our lives, and it's good for us to heed wise counsel. Because, see, there's some things that we can't see that others who are much more wise than us can see, and they try to spare us from some of the hurts and heartaches that we've experienced. So here they are. They've say so now they're at the mercy of the winds and the waves. And in the midst of all of that, we want to look at what like when you're on a detour in life, how do you function? What's necessary to know? What's necessary to understand when we're experiencing a detour in life? Well, one of the first things that is important to understand about detours is that God supplies all our needs. Even when we're on a detour.
Thank you.
Even when you bumped your head and didn't want to listen, it's important for us to understand that God will supply all of our needs. If we can pull that up, verses 33, I think it's 33 to 38 says, just before dawn, Paul urged them. Now check this out. He tells them to eat. Because for the last 14 days, he said, you've been in constant suspense and have gone without food. You haven't eaten anything. Now, I urge you to take some food. You need it to survive. Let's check out what he says. Not one of you will lose a single hair from his head. After he said this, he took some bread and gave thanks to God in front of them all. Then he broke it and began to eat. They were all encouraged and ate some food themselves. Altogether, there were 276 of us on board. When they had eaten as much as they wanted, check this out, they lightened the ship by throwing the grain into the sea. Remember now, they're on a grain ship. So they're on a ship that is transporting grain to different regions of the world. And Paul has to encourage them. He's like, look, fellas, y'all need to eat. Because it's been 14 days, 2 weeks, and they have not eaten. Because there's something about being on a detour in life, being on a road that you didn't start out on, being somewhere where you're at the mercy of whatever it is that happens to you. There's something about that will cause you to lose your appetite. Okay. Y'all ain't ever had problems. Maybe over here. Y'all ever had problems? Like stuff where it's like you've lost your appetite because of the anxiety and the stuff that you're not even eating the way that you normally eat because of the anxiety and the angst and the suspense and the stuff that's going on. See, they don't have that kind of stuff. So, we'll talk to y'all. See, they had not eaten for 2 weeks. And Paul says to them, look, fellas, you got to eat. Because, see, oftentimes what happens when we're experiencing a detour, we will alter our behavior. Yeah, we will do things that we didn't do. Because now I'm in some territory, I'm on some road that is not familiar to me. And as a result of that, it's causing anxiety and even causing me to lose my appetite. Paul says, look, y'all need to eat. They didn't refrain from eating because they didn't have food. God had supplied what they needed. It was just the fact that they're on a detour and on a different part of the journey now, and because of that, they don't know how to function that well. See, you can experience some stuff in life that will cause so much trauma in your mind.
Yeah.
that you won't even function the way you used to function.
Yeah.
Because right now, you may be obsessed with or focusing on what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there where you've been so sick and your body has been racking with pain so much until you can't even focus? You can't even understand putting one foot in front of the other because right now I'm consumed with what's going on in my body.
Yeah.
Paul tells them, look, eat, fellas. Nothing's going to happen to you, but you need to eat. In other words, what he wants them to see is that even on a detour, God will supply everything that you need. You just got to recognize that it's still there and not flip out just because you're in unfamiliar territory.
Yeah.
He's encouraging them to eat. My brothers and sisters, when we're experiencing those detours, understand that God supplies everything we need. Second thing though, and this may be difficult when on a detour in life. God supplies my needs, right? But God may require me to make a sacrifice. Sometimes detours are set up, orchestrated, created in our lives so that we will sacrifice something that under normal conditions we wouldn't be willing to give it up. Can you pull it up real quick, thing 39 through 41? It says, when daylight came, they didn't recognize the land, but they saw a bay with a sandy beach, where they decided to run the ship aground if they could. Cutting loose the anchors, they left them in the sea, and at the same time untied the ropes that held the rudders. Then they hoisted the foresail to the wind and made for the beach. But the ship struck a sandbar and ran aground. The bow stuck fast and would not move, and the stern was broken to pieces by the pounding of the surf. So now check this out. Here they are sailing, and they see an area that they feel like, okay, look, this is what we can do. We can run the ship aground. To run a ship aground means that you take it into shallow water so then that the bottom of the boat will get stuck in the sand. And since you're in shallow water, then you can just go ahead and safely get to land, because that means that you're close to land. So they see, look, there's a bay area ahead, and what we can do is run the ship aground. Now, in order for them to do that and take this risk, they have to cut the ropes that are connected to the anchor. My God. The anchor is that big old thing that drops down into the water to help keep the ship stable and in place.
Yeah. All right.
So this is what this is what they have to do. We see an area ahead, and we can run the ship aground. We can get it stuck in sand, and then we can get there. But in order for us to do that, we got to sever ties with the anchor. They got to make the decision that we're going to cut the anchor, which means that which held them stable.
All right, come on, Pastor. Come on with it.
Sometimes there's some stuff in our lives that we think keeps us stable.
All right. All right.
And in actuality, is holding us back from growing where we really need to go. There's some people that you think they provide stability in your life. And you think being with them and around them and associating with them is helping you because being by yourself is scary. Because not having this same job that I've had for the last 15 years, that's scary.
It is.
Walking away from that check every other week, that's scary.
Yes, it is.
And because it appears that it provides stability for me, then I'm not going to take the risk. And do something different. They sever ties with the anchor so that they can run the ship aground. Sometimes on detours, God sets them up in our lives so we will get rid of some stuff that's been holding us back.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, depending on some stuff that is not even dependable. No, that
Thank
ain't
you, God.
dependable. But rather than me start over, I'm just going to stay in what's familiar. And what I find to be of some stability. So when we're experiencing a detour, sometimes God is requiring that we make a sacrifice.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
And give up something that may have been holding us back. Last thing. Detours in life, man, they happen to all of us. All of us will experience detours in life. We don't have to like them, but we also don't have to freak out about them.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
Because, see, God supplies everything that we need even when we're on a detour.
Oh, yes, He does. Yes, yes. Thank you,
Right?
God.
And the
Thank you,
detour
God.
may be requiring that
Thank you, God.
God may be requiring that we sacrifice, that we get rid of something that's been holding us back.
Yeah, yeah.
But here's the last thing about detours, though, that we have to understand, is that God uses the very simple things to do the spectacular in life.
Yeah, yeah.
God doesn't need a whole lot of stuff to do stuff.
No, He don't.
I mean, He took nothing and created heaven and earth.
Yes. Wow.
So it's not like He needs a whole lot. He doesn't need a big fanfare in order to get something done. God can take the very simple things of life and use them to do the very spectacular. If you can pull that up real quick, Dan. Verses 42 and 44 says, the soldiers, now check this out, they planned to kill the prisoners to prevent any of them from swimming away and escaping. But the centurion, the officer, wanted to spare Paul's life and kept them from carrying out their plan. He ordered those who could swim to jump overboard first and get to land. The rest were to get there on planks or on other pieces of the ship. In this way, everyone reached land safely. Check this out. The ship runs aground and it starts to fall apart. All right, it starts falling apart. It starts breaking up into pieces because it runs aground and the waves and stuff start beating upon it and it starts breaking into pieces. And the soldiers decide, they're thinking about what we should do. Well, we should kill all of the prisoners. Because if we kill them, then at least they can't escape. But the officer who was on board wanted to spare Paul's life. See, God will put people in your life
Yes, he will. Yes, he will.
That's not even
Pastor.
for you,
Preach, Pastor.
but he'll use them for you.
Yes, yes.
The officer, he said, no, let's not kill him. Because he wants Paul's life spared. So then they tell everybody, look, if you can swim, jump on overboard and start swimming the lane. For those of you who cannot swim, grab some pieces of the ship, and as it continues to float, you just float on the lane. Some can swim. Y'all go ahead, jump in and swim. But there are others on the ship that can't swim. You grab a broken piece of the boat. You grab a broken piece of the ship. And as it continues to float, you'll just float to lane. You'll float to safety. And what Luke says is that everyone reached the land safely. Some made it through swimming, and some made it through floating. Some made it because they were talented enough to swim, but there were others who didn't have as much talent as those, and they had to make it in on broken pieces. They had to grab hold of something and float to their destiny because they weren't as talented as the other ones. The other ones, I can imagine some folks start swimming. Those that can swim, those people who really know how to swim. See, nothing personal. But those that could swim, swam. Those that could not swim, they had to hold on to something in order for them to get to where they were going. My brothers and sisters, see, here's the thing about detours. Some of us will make it. Some of us will make it in a very orthodox way. Some of us, like me, is going to make it in on broken pieces. And see, here's something that even the centurion knew. That at least if you grabbed on to a piece that had been broken,
All right.
it can get you to where you need to go.
All right.
See, sometimes, y'all know how we are with things that have been broken. We want to get rid of something that's broken because we think that there's no value to it anymore. But the centurion tells them, look, there's some broken pieces of the ship. Just grab hold of that, and you can go ahead and float to your destination and float to the same land that those that could swim swam to, because that which is broken doesn't need to be discarded.
That's right. That's right.
Did I ever tell y'all? Did I ever tell y'all about the broken dresser drawer at the house? All right, there's. Sorry. One day, one of Pam's dresser drawers broke, right? Not any of mine has broken. But one of hers broke. I don't have that problem. So I was thinking, like, okay, the drawer is broken. Who wants a dresser with a broken drawer? Right? That's what I was thinking. Who wants a dresser that has a broken drawer? And when you walk in the bedroom, you notice that the drawer is broken because it's like leaning. I don't have that problem with my dresser. What she did. Now, I don't know if the drawer, if it was just too much stuff in the drawer. I don't know. I'm not an expert on dresser drawers. I don't know, but all I know is that when you walk in, it's like, and it was just a bad sight, right? So this is what I decided to do, because Right, I'm becoming handy around the house. I'm becoming handy, right? I wouldn't call myself Mr. Fix-It. I would call myself give him a shot. Give him a shot. See if he can handle it. All right. So, this is after I had that drill. Did I tell you about the drill?
Oh, God.
Yeah, this is after I have that drill, right? Now, remember, I got a starter drill because I'm just starting. So I have a beginner's drill. I don't have a drill that's fancy like Torn. Torn has these drills that, like, it's like they got lights on them. They have, like, these little mechanisms that holds the screw in place. No, I gotta use two hands to hold the screw, and then you try. Okay, so this is right after I get my drill, right? And I'm kind of psyched. It's like something's broken, I can try and fix it. So I take the drawer out, and I noticed that one of the tracks had fallen off. One of the tracks inside the dresser had fallen off where the drawer sits and slides on it. So I'm like, ooh, okay, I might be able to. I think I can. I don't know. But it's dark in there. I don't have a drill with a light on it, though. So then it kind of comes to mind, you should have got a drill that had a light on it. I never thought I'd be in this predicament, right? So I'm thinking, right? Because I'm like, the drawer is broken. I know I need to fix this because this stuff is looking real funky. So it's like, okay, I know I need to fix this. How am I going to fix the broken drawer? Or do we just throw away the dresser because the drawer is broken? But you know what? Give it a shot. This is what I do. I get some duct tape, right? And I get my phone. Because my phone
All right.
is a light.
All right. Okay.
I'm like,
Okay.
this is creative.
That's right. There you go.
So what I do, right, is I turn on the flashlight on the phone and tape it on the inside of the dresser. Thank you, man. Thank you. I don't have a drill with a light on it. Okay? So the light from the phone is taped to the inside on the other side where the track is fine, and it's shining on the side that needs repair.
All right.
I'm the guy. I can do
You
it.
can do it.
So this is what I figured. I can make some other holes in the track because something happened with the other ones, right? And they just weren't. So what I have to do is drill some holes in the metal track and just, what is called is the professional term is relocation of the screws. No, I'm serious. So I relocate those, right? And I line the track up with the initial screw holes that were in there because I had to make modifications, right? So here I am. Bam. Phone is duct taped to the inside of the dresser drawer, and the light is shining on the area that needs repair, right? So I'm like, zzz, and I'm doing my thing. I'm kind of like, proud of myself. So then I untaped the phone, got it all in there, and I'm like, okay, it looks good. Here's the test. Put the drawer in and see if it will stay up, right? I'm figuring it will, okay? So put the drawer in, boom, it just slides on the tracks like brand new. What? What? Just a little bit of ingenuity, right, with something that is broken, so you don't discard it because it could be fixed.
Yes.
See, you've been living your life all super sanctified.
right.
Ain't
Okay,
never made no
Pastor.
mistakes. Ain't never messed up and fumbled and dropped the ball. Thank God that even in our own brokenness, God doesn't just discard us
Yeah.
and throw us away.
Yeah.
God says, no, I know you messed up. I know you dropped the ball. I know you said you weren't going to do it again, but you did it again. Anyhow, I'm not going to throw your life away because some people will make it in an orthodox way, but there's some that even in their brokenness, from broken relationships, they're going to make it. From growing up in a broken home, they're going to make it. From having broken marriages, they're going to make it. From having their heart broken by somebody, they're going to make it. All because God specializes in using people that have been broken to help them fulfill their destiny.
Yeah.
So you see, my
Thank you,
brothers and
Lord.
sisters, when you're on a detour, don't freak out.
That's right.
Don't let the anxiety and all of that stuff like have you to a place where you can't function. Now, God's going to supply everything that you need. Yes, he may require you to detach yourself from something that's holding you back.
Yes.
He may require that. But lastly, remember though, he'll use the simple things to do something very spectacular in your life.
Yes, Lord.
So let's not lose it. Let's not stress when we're on a detour. Because a detour doesn't mean that you're